Good morning and welcome to Wake Up. Good morning, beautiful people. We are live.
The sun is rising, the sky is blue. Good morning, grand risings, let's see what's new. It's that time of day for Sonia and crew. Good morning, grand risings. It's time to wake up with Sonia Poulton. Cup of coffee in hand, starting fresh with the beans. Wake up, sleepy heads, and shake off those dreams. Good morning, grand risings. It's time to wake up with Sonia Poulton.
Good morning and can't see me, but you can now. How are you people? How are you? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. Welcome to Wake Up with Sonia Poulton and guests. It is now 9:01 a.m. British summertime, and I'm delighted to have you here with me. And thank you as ever to our glorious Markson for our opening tune. And welcome to the show that knows oppression fears expression, and that's why so-called lawmakers are banning free speech left, right and centre, and we are the official opposition. Oh yes indeed. On today's show, geopolitical journalist Warren Thornton will be joining us, probably for an extended conversation about what is taking place right now in our world regarding Iran, Israel, US and UK. And we'll also be joined by the very lovely, Warren is also very lovely by the way, but we'll also be joined by Matt Landman. Matt Landman was the host of Saturday's anti-Geoengineering event in London, and he'll be talking to us and talking also about going to Parliament today for the Geoengineering debate, which is taking place at 4:30 today, I believe it is. I'll double check that shortly. And tracked from birth, DNA babies. Oh, we knew it was coming. We kind of knew it was coming. Yes, indeed. Home Secretary, she will be making a speech today. Looks like she'll be heading in the direction, of course, of outlawing genocide resistance. Yes, indeed. Is your MP occupied by a foreign power, by the way? Because an awful lot of them are. Oh, yes, indeed. And shame. The assisted dying bills now pass through Parliament and now will go to the Lords. And we'll end on an appreciation of our natural world. And why ever not, indeed? Why ever not? Just to say, Jane B, lovely Jane B, is the winner of Mark Plain's AI and I. Thank you for all your wonderful entries. Lovely words, lovely sentiments. Thank you so much. Appreciate you greatly. Yes, indeed. How are you? In the comments today. How are you, darling people? And it was a great day on Saturday. I had so much fun. I was very happy with the live stream for the most part. Now, I understood that the audio was far from perfect, and I've already learnt from that for the next time, but at least we were there. At least we were there, which is more than could be said for most of the so-called alternative media in the UK. We didn't expect mainstream media to support it, but when I realized that so few alternative media were actually there supporting it, I just thought, okay, I get it. I know where you're really coming from, but that's fine because we were there. Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. Thank you, Foboy. Do you know what? It was so brilliant. I loved meeting so many brilliant people. Notes were pressed into my hands. People giving me like guides and sources and various things. That was really exciting. Lots of wonderful hugs. That was lovely. And I did meet so many wonderful people. Lovely Jane, who I met waiting for the bus at Vauxhall and who lent me her fan. What a star. Thank you so much. Lovely Marie. I think it's Marie. Lovely here. Yeah. Maria. Thank you so much, Maria, for this very beautiful card and the very kind words and the donation to Wake Up. You are just lovely, very lovely. And thank you to Marco and Spencer. Marco took this picture. I don't know if Marco is in the comments. Thank you, Avril. I appreciate that so much. Marco took this picture and I absolutely love it. I think it really kind of captures the energy. And I will be showing some pictures today from both Marco and Spencer Pete. And Spencer actually came briefly onto the live stream, which was absolutely lovely. And thank you, lovely Baroness Charlotte, who was there and helped me with streaming. What an absolute star she is. She is so adorable. I love her to bits. The whole atmosphere was just incredible. We filled up the whole of the front of Marble Arch, which is no mean feat. It's the first one. Obviously, lessons will be learned by all of us. But hey, it was absolutely wonderful. Marco, I love that picture so much. Yes, Jean, Marco in the comments took it. Isn't it great? Absolutely wonderful. And we will be joined later by Matt, and we'll be talking a bit more about Saturday. But yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was wonderful. Before we get to our first guest, though, I want to talk about how there are hit pieces and then there are hit pieces. This one is particularly nasty, but then when you realize who it's written by, you will understand why. This is a hit piece written by the BBC's resident spy and ignoramus, Marianna Spring. It's based around Panorama this evening. Cancer conspiracy theories. Why did our sister die? They are once again targeting Kate Shemirani, and it is the most reprehensible piece I have read in a very, very long time. And what has happened is, so it's an article and Panorama that covers the very sad death of Kate's daughter, Paloma, and involves Kate's sons, Gabriel and Sebastian Shemirani, blaming their mother for the death of their sister. They say that their mother's anti-medicine conspiracy theories for Paloma, it's kind of meant that Paloma was almost destined to die at 23. They talk about how they were in the car on the way to school and their mother would always talk about her conspiracy theories and everything. And both Kate and her ex-husband, Farah Mars, wrote to the BBC saying they have evidence that Paloma died as a result of medical interventions given without confirmed diagnosis or lawful consent. But the BBC don't care about that because, as Stephen points out in the comments, the BBC are actually evil. And what happened was Kate's sons, according to Marianna Spring, contacted her and about Paloma in the hope they could prevent other deaths. Why? What are they? Listen, I get it. They're grieving their sister. I absolutely get it. And I am very, very sorry for you because I've lost two of my siblings over the last 3-4 years. Yeah, actually from 2020 onwards. And it is heartbreaking. But running to the BBC and selling out your mother ain't the way forward. I am absolutely appalled, actually. I'm appalled by the whole thing. Marianna Spring is a piece of filth. We must not forget that. She's very harmful, extremely harmful to both our mental and physical health. She's a media puppet in every sense of the word, and no one should ever, ever trust her. They should see her as an agent for the state, which is what she is. She is not here to spread the truth. She is here to reroute the truth. She is, as near as damn it, a representative for Big Pharma on national TV. And it's absolutely appalling. And I am so seriously appalled by the sons coming forward like this and selling out their mother. And that, you know, it's like you may not agree with some of the things that Kate Shemirani says, but that is also a grieving mother. And don't anybody tell me that she didn't try to do everything she possibly could for her daughter. I'm sure she absolutely did. Of that, I'm absolutely sure. Absolutely appalling. These people are heinous. Yes, they are indeed. And grand risings to you all, lovely people. Lovely message from Dougal. Dougal, sorry that you were sick on Saturday, but Dougal said when you opened up with your speech with they are pissing on us and telling us it's raining, you made my day. Thank you. Good to hear it. Lovely to see you all in the comments today. Why is there the Cancer Act, says Darren? Well, that's to keep us all in place, people. My film, The Business of Cancer, was removed from YouTube. It is still available on alternative platforms. Chris Smith said, this makes me so angry. How can they do this to their mother? Shame on them. Read about this. It was tragic. It really was. Poor Kay, I know. Yes, that's right, Jacqueline. Her son did do it to her before. I remember that as well. Absolutely reprehensible. As a parent, I would be beside myself if my child chose to sell me out in such a way. But hopefully my child never will. Never will. Right. DNA or babies. This is some dark stuff, right? This is sinister, very sinister. This is what Tony Blair promised all the way back in 1996 when he visited the Forensic Science Services. So what we're hearing now is every newborn baby in England will have their DNA mapped to assess their risk of hundreds of diseases under NHS plans for the next 10 years. And the man on the screen is somebody behind it, very much involved in it. And he is... I'm just trying to find his name. His name is Robin Howard Lovell Badge. He's a British scientist. He's famous for his discovery of the SRA gene on the Y chromosome. That is the determinant of sex in mammals. That's what he's famous for. And he's behind this scheme, very much so. He's from the Francis Crick Institute. And Francis Crick Institute is as kind of globalist as you're likely to get, of course. This is about tracking society. Of course it is. Building one of the world's biggest research databases against us. And my concern is the way that they're framing this is it's mandatory. So the idea is it comes after a study which analysed the genetic code of up to 100,000 babies. And that was announced in October. And the government's 10-year plan for the NHS, which they're going to be revealing over the coming weeks, but it includes this, AI and genomics. And the Department for Health and Social Care said that genomics, the study of genes, and AI would be used to, in quotes, revolutionise prevention and provide faster diagnosis and an early warning signal for disease. And I'm wondering, because they say the idea is to be able to map out our health, right? Well, I'm wondering, will further NHS support be denied that child if that child is shown to have some faulty gene or some sickness, some inherited sickness? We're living through really dark times. They want us to die earlier. They want to kill babies in the womb off earlier. Or later rather, and they want to track us from birth. Really dark times. And then force onto pharma drugs. Yes, absolutely. Morning all. The sun is shining for now as they've been painting the sky with lines here in Cardiff. Yes, Gilly, I hear you. At the moment, newborn babies are currently getting a heel prick blood test that checks for 9 serious conditions, but they want to go all out. And unfortunately, we've reached a stage in our lives in the world where anything that the government proposes, I automatically assume must be a bad thing, because these people are not here for the good of our health, as we know. Wes Streeting, of course, the health secretary is very much pushing for it. Robin Howard Lovell Badge was awarded the 2022 Genetic Society Medal. He's currently a senior group leader and head of Laboratory of Stem Cell Biology and Developmental Genetics at the Francis Crick Institute in central London. And the Crick, by the way, is the outcome of a merger between the National Institute for Medical Research and Cancer Research UK. Well, anybody who's watched my film Business of Cancer will know what I think of Cancer Research UK. It doesn't spell crook for no good reason. That's my take on that. Right, let me just see. My first guest, I'm going to go to him very, very shortly. Let me just briefly talk about this, and then I want to bring in Warren early. Climate misinformation turning a crisis into catastrophe, right? A new report attacks people who question the climate lies, with the UN going so far as to seek to criminalise people like us who are asking questions of the official narrative. So there was a new report from the International Panel on the Environment. Let me start that again. It's a new report from the International Panel on the Information Environment, IPI, trips off your tongue, clearly, says climate action is obstructed and delayed by false and misleading information. And last Thursday, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Climate Change, Elisa Morguera, called for misinformation and greenwashing, as they like to call it, by the fossil fuel industry and others to be criminalised. And on Saturday, this coming Saturday, Brazil will host the upcoming 2030 climate summit. They're going to be rallying nations behind a separate UN initiative to crack down on this climate misinformation that I've just kind of like talked about and what I've referred to. And it's a major problem, said Dr. Klaus Jensen of the University of Copenhagen, who co-led the review. He said, if we don't have the right information available, how are we going to vote for the right causes and politicians? And how are politicians going to translate the clear evidence into the necessary action? Unfortunately, I think the bad actors are still very, very active and probably have the upper hand now. So let me get this right. If they don't have the information that they find to be acceptable and which pushes the whole climate crisis narrative, then they won't know which MPs to be voting for if they're not trotting out that narrative. This is so pathetic. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Anyone else notice how many breezy, windy days we are getting with sunshine? Drought alert on its way. Mels, I noticed yesterday was like, it was almost autumnal with the wind. Quite bizarre. Right. I want to talk to Warren straight away, actually, because this is so vital about what is actually taking place right now. And I know that many of our viewers are deeply, deeply concerned. And I thought there's only one man for the job. And here he is, Warren Thornton. How are you, Warren?
I am absolutely fine, Sonia. I've just been cutting down an entire Amazon rainforest to make ready for a COP conference.
You're a badass, Warren. That's why we love you so much. It's absolute madness that took place over the weekend, right? So Trump had said on Thursday, oh no, it's going to be it will be within 2 weeks, but it's not right now that I'm going to go target Iran, right? So obviously something was cooking in the background. He said that this was the most successful coming together of him and Benjamin Netanyahu. Then Trump sent in military and they were targeting Iran. So many horrendous things have happened. Of course, Trump launched those missiles despite giving people the impression that it would be longer. Were we misled very deliberately, or was it just an ever-changing landscape?
No, we were absolutely misled deliberately. They'd done it before, of course. They lulled the Iranians into, shall we say, talking when Israel performed the strikes. Iran were caught on the hop the first time. They weren't caught on the hop the second time because very simply they didn't believe Trump when he turned around and he said, I'm going to give them so many days or whatever. And of course, 2 days before, they moved all the enriched uranium out on 18 cargo trucks. So it was a pretty pointless exercise, really.
So Trump tweeted this: we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. And you said actually it was another one, but I presume that this probably applies to this as well. Because, yes. I mean, you can literally fact check this, can't you, what he said here, yes, and tell us what is true and what isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. But the first thing I would say, Sonia, imagine the internet had existed in 1941. So Hirohito then posts, we've completed our very successful attack on Hawaii. All planes are now outside of American airspace. Full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Pearl Harbor. Congratulations, Japanese warriors. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention on this matter. And then said, we're not at war with America. And Japan had said, we're not at war with America. How would have America responded? Well, we know how they responded. They dropped a couple of atomic bombs on the Japanese to shut them up. So, yes, let's first of all deal with Natanz and obviously Fordo and obviously Esfahan. Now, the Russians actually have, this is the nonsense about enriched uranium. The Russians have over 100 scientists working in these nuclear sites with the Iranians, okay? If anybody knew, so when they enrich too much uranium, basically they hand it over to the Russians. It's all very, very nice and quiet, but they hand it over to the Russians, and the Russians hand them some nice missiles that they can use to defend themselves while not having a nuclear bomb, which works well for both sides. Now, very simply, they've got Russian scientists there. They all evacuated, of course. And everybody is turning around. Well, we won't know until the Americans have doctored the satellite photographs and put them out, going, look how successful this was. But here's the problem. Everybody thinks, well, it's the entrance and the exits. Nobody will know. Iran don't know. The IAEA don't know. It's complete nonsense from our sources inside Russia, and who are in touch with the scientists who work at those bases. There are exit tunnels that go about 2 miles, and that's in case there was any accidents underneath. And the exits and the entrance were blocked. You've got lots of different exit tunnels that stretch about 3 kilometers. And of course, you can get out through them. So they went in through them, monitored the radiation, let the IAEA know that the monitoring levels were perfectly okay. And they haven't done any damage. They've done quite a bit of damage to the outside, but they've not done any damage to anything that's of any significance down below. They would have to send in troops to do that, and of course they'll say all sorts of things, but unless they send in units of troops, American troops, to confirm the damage, we have to go by what the Russians and the Iranians and the IAEA say.
I mean, it's really curious, isn't it? Because obviously, that expression, there's always a tweet, right? And Trump has previously, over the years, tweeted endlessly about how Obama, in order to be re-elected, he would be, waging war against Iran as one example. And the post I'm referring to of yours, you said no one will ever believe you outside of America again when you say the word peace. First of all, you are now owned by the neocons. I think this is the clearest example of what you're saying there, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. No one will ever trust you again. You've literally had, shall we say, Ratcliffe of the CIA making sure that the only voices he's hearing, and there have been some dissenting voices. Tulsi Gabbard, of course, folded the moment she was sort of put up there. But when you saw her in the war room, they had Wiles in there, they had Rubio in there, and we've spoken about Rubio before. He is an absolute. He's the devil in a tie. And then you had Hegseth, and they're all on message for bomb, and Trump has basically done that. And the other thing is split the MAGA vote straight down the middle, because you've got the MAGA people who voted for Trump because they wanted peace and no more wars. They didn't turn around and say, we want no more wars, but just in case so-and-so do have a nuclear weapon, drop a bomb on them. It was equivocal. No more war, end of story. So now what will happen is the moment this goes wrong, and it will go wrong because they're going to have to escalate even more, because Iran, if they're smart, just keep dropping bombs on Israel. They don't block off the Straits of Hormuz. They don't attack an American base or an American ship. They just keep pounding Israel because they can do that for 5 months with no more weapons deliveries whatsoever. And at the end of that 5 months, it will have cost Israel 165 billion in weapons to try and fight them off.
Of course, you mentioned Tulsi Gabbard. Now, Tulsi Gabbard is generally somebody that most of the MAGA voters tend to trust, right? And she's previously said they have no nuclear power going on. And this is what Trump had to say about Tulsi Gabbard.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
He's so quick, isn't he, to sell her out? I mean, it's just extraordinary.
Yeah.
So she was excluded because she wasn't on message at the time. Do you think that's what was going on?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, we only had to look at what he did to Thomas Massey over the weekend. Thomas Massey was, he's a voice of reason and sanity. And Trump laid into him in not only, shall we say, political terms, but a horrible personal attack as well. And anybody who's not on message with this is getting absolutely flayed for it. And the trouble is, there's a lot of good MAGA people out there who wanted peace and voted for Trump for that. There are some people who follow him blindly no matter what happens. They'll follow him, they'll follow him to the ends of the earth. But that's a bit like following, Joe Biden to the end of the earth.
Right.
You vote for somebody for what they're going to do. And at the end of the day, we are in more wars now. And it's one of these. Let's slide out of Ukraine here. We can claim a massive victory in Iran. Before we go on to China and get the Philippines or Australia or Japan to die on our behalf in the next proxy war we've got planned with the neocons. And the neocons are running America now.
They certainly are. And there's international, thank goodness, international condemnation from many quarters for this actions, because it's so apparent who the aggressors are. Because Iran were at the negotiating table when Israel launched a preemptive strike on them. And then when Iran fought back, that was when the US came running in. And obviously, we know that Israel is literally running stuff. Like it's running stuff. I made a comment on social media yesterday about how our government is in support of Israel, how the opposition party is in support of Israel, how the so-called new alternative reform is in support of Israel, tweeting outrageous stuff. What are your thoughts about Britain's response? In fact, before you answer that, let's have a listen to what Keir Starmer had to say yesterday, Warren. Let me get your feedback on this. And I'm so grateful for you being here today. So many questions. Let's go. Let's hear this.
Concerns about the Iranian nuclear program and been very clear that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The US has now taken action to alleviate that threat. It is important that we now de-escalate the situation, stabilise the region, and get the parties back around the table to negotiate. And I've been speaking with international leaders this morning to that end. So I want to reassure the British public that we're doing everything we can to stabilise the situation, to de-escalate the situation, and to get to a negotiated outcome. But I'm very clear in my own mind that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. That is the greatest threat to stability in the region.
Wow. And there was me thinking that Israel was the greatest threat to stability in the region. What do you think about what Keir Starmer has to say there, Warren?
Well, firstly, his party and him personally and many of his cabinet take money from Trevor Chin, who is the Labour Friends of Israel, of course, and they've taken lots and lots of that money. And can I just remind Keir Starmer that Iran were at the negotiating table not once but twice, and they dropped bombs on them, once through their proxy through Israel, and then, of course, while they were at negotiating. And you're asking them to come back to the negotiating table. It's not going to work. And Iran, what you've done is you've united the Iranian people behind the government. And of course, the government are saying that they will never surrender. They will not go back to negotiating whatsoever, while Israel is still firing rockets and doing all sorts of things. And of course, the Americans will find it very, very hard to rein them in. And Trump is now boxed in because Netanyahu will just turn around and go, we need more, we need more. They are still dropping bombs on it. And of course, the Iron Dome is completely useless. So Keir Starmer, he's going to turn around and say, oh, you know, we've got no problems whatsoever with helping out, you know, the US if they get attacked. Well, they were already knocking drones out of the sky. We proved that they were landing these British jets in the Jordan military airbase. And only just the other day, a gentleman was arrested going around Akrotiri Air Base, and he's either thought to be of Kazakhstan, I think it's, or Uzbekistan descent or British descent. And he was going around mapping all of Akrotiri Air Base. Now, we have to wonder if that's a false flag or that was somebody doing it on purpose. I'm sure the Russians would provide Iran with the satellite links, but the Russians and the Chinese will be saying, don't listen to Britain, don't listen to America, keep hitting the Israelis, we'll keep supplying you weapons. Not forgetting, of course, China have a massive investment inside Iran. And of course, they flew there with their tech guys within 12 hours of the first bombing happening.
Right. And it's interesting how you were talking earlier about how this is splitting the MAGA, right? Because obviously MAGA, the big movement behind Donald Trump. And one of the people that is absolutely split by it is Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she's generally a supporter of Trump. And what she's had to say, and I support what she has to say, she says every time America is on the verge of greatness, we get involved in another foreign war. There would not be bombs falling on the people of Israel if Netanyahu had not dropped bombs on the people of Iran first. Israel is a nuclear armed nation. This is not our fight. Peace is the answer. Bold words from her because she's opposing the leader, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's be absolutely honest here. There are wonderful, wonderful people in the MAGA movement. Make America great again. You know, absolutely brilliant. And of course, then Trump came out with this idiotic thing. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is completely right. He came out with this idiotic thing, and it's always been about the overthrow of the government. You see, they call it regime change because you think regime and it's like, oh, you know, it's something terrible, it's something oppressive, it's something horrible, but it's actually overthrow. It's overthrowing the government that actually exists in that country. Let's call it what it is. And of course, he said it's MIGA. Let's have regime change, make Iran great again. Well, it's not. You know, I mean, very simply, this has always been about regime change. You're never going to, unless you put troops on the ground, you're not going to do anything to the Iranian nuclear facilities. And it is absolutely crazy, Sonia. And you're right, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I feel so sorry for the people, and I'm one of them, who thought Trump was going to stop all the wars. They boxed him. I was one of those stupid enough to go, okay, maybe you can get this done. And then you saw the cabinet coming together, didn't you? And you went, Marco Rubio, oh no.
I know.
And you went, Lindsey Graham, foreign policy, oh no. And then Keith Kellogg as a chief negotiator in the Ukraine war. And you're going, why Keith Kellogg? One, he's a general, and two, his daughter works for an NGO inside Kiev that repatriates the bodies of American mercenaries fighting in Ukraine.
Good Lord. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, all these people are so captured. I want to show you this tweet because I know that you've made a comment about them. And what do you make of this from Reform? Reform UK stands behind the military actions of the USA overnight. Iran must not be allowed to have nuclear weapons. The future of Israel depends on it. Why are these people all Israel first, Warren? Because this is absolutely Israel first stuff.
It is, because let's face it, Richard Tice has skin in the game. He's 25 years, one of his biggest donors, Jeremy Hoskin, founded and owned the Marathon Asset Management Company, which is a New York hedge fund. I mean, it's all wrapped up with the banking system and everything else that very much supports this war. It is incredible the amount of people who you just follow the money, who funds these guys, and then check who's backing them. I don't think, I mean, there's only, I think it's 4 senators in the whole of the House, you know, obviously in Congress, who don't take money from the Israel lobby. Reform are tied up in an indirect way with it. Labour have taken money. The Conservatives take money from the military industrial complex. I mean, this is just a circle. In America, what they do is the war hawks or the neocons who get lots and lots of money from the military industrial complex for all these speaking engagements, about $50,000 for 1-2 hours work per week. And then very simply what they do is they get on these committees, they vote money for Israel buy arms from the military industrial complex and give money to the campaign funds, bribes, whichever you want to call it, to the senators of the House. And of course, round and round we go in this big circle, and anybody who steps off message gets absolutely crushed.
So is it fair to say at this stage, let me just bring in this image, because I think a picture says 1,000 words in many respects. Is it fair to say at this stage that Donald Trump is doing all the bidding of Benjamin Netanyahu? Has he completely ignored his own fan base now?
He's one of them where he thinks that the people of America will come along with him. Now, the neocons have been very, very smart here because they've gone, right, this man does have an ego. And what they did, which was very, very telling, was they put out on various platforms through various agents. And what they did, we tracked it all the way back. And it came from an Israeli media firm, which called Donald Trump Taco, which was basically Trump always chickens out. And of course, he would have seen this on his media because he's very media savvy. And certainly his people would have pointed this out. And of course, this is playing to the ego, isn't it? Where you just go, right, well, this time we're going to make absolutely certain that we don't. And of course, to be called a chicken these days is basically because you don't want to bomb the living daylights out of someone. Peace through strength is just bullying. It's you know, this peace through strength nonsense you hear. It's do what we tell you, otherwise we'll bomb the hell out of you. That's peace through strength.
Yeah. Absolutely. And word has gone out, hasn't it? You see all those tweets which all look alike, including from like Baron Trump and various other people. And it's all along the same lines of, if you're no longer MAGA because Trump wiped out Iran's nuclear sites, you were never MAGA to begin with. And this, I mean, this huge social media campaign. I mean, I've got 8 tweets in front of me which are saying the same thing from all different accounts. And I'm sure we could track many, many more. What do you think about that, though? You know, obviously that is not an organic campaign, is it?
No, it's absolutely a campaign to try and get the people who are behind, who are behind this. Of course, everybody was coming out of the woodwork. Hexeth, Rubio saying you don't want to cut off the Straits of Hormuz and everything else, and everybody coming out. What was a great thing because they don't want the oil prices going through the roof. And then you've got Hexeth coming out saying we have a president, and everybody's on message behind Trump, left, right, and centre. But the people are not buying it. The international community are absolutely furious. They blocked the UN. We're going to have a vote on exactly how bad this was. Because at the end of the day, you've dropped on a sovereign nation. Whether you like them or not is immaterial. The UN Charter is quite straightforward on this. You don't go around bombing nuclear sites in somebody else's country, somebody else's sovereign country. Right. And the US and Israel blocked the vote on this so that they couldn't have a vote on it, but they will have a vote on it at some stage.
I mean, Trump literally broke all the rules doing this. And what he's done is he's plunged us in, obviously, as Peter Hitchens said, into a forever war. And we know about this, of course, the military industrial complex. And that's what this is about. But I'm wondering now, what is going to be the fallout regarding things like gas prices as one example? Do we know anything like that? What is happening with the monetary system? Because it's not creating stability. Instability is what it's creating. What are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts about that is I would sneakily be investing in oil because it's going to go through the roof if they block the Straits of Hormuz. You'll be paying. At the moment, we had the EU, didn't we, saying they wanted to drop it down to 40 to anywhere between $40 and $65 a barrel. And of course, that was to try and hurt the Russian economy. Well, if they block the Straits of Hormuz, you'd be looking at around about $200 a barrel. So at the pump, that is going to cost you double the money. So your heating bills are going to go through the roof. Your the money to run your car, the petrol to run your car is going to go through the roof, and that's going to hurt the whole of Europe. And of course, Donald Trump is saying it won't hurt America. Well, yes, it will, because it will put industry prices up, which means they'll have to go to Russia for more oil via India, and of course they will then sell that to Europe at maybe 10, 12 times the price rather than the 4 times the price they're paying at the moment.
Right. And of course, one of the things that we haven't talked about yet is, this is obviously Iran's supreme leader, is retaliation on the US, which many of our viewers have written in really concerned and really scared. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, very simply, there will be Xi Jinping and Putin. And of course, don't forget the Iranian foreign minister is meeting with Vladimir Putin. And of course, that's got Rubio's knickers in a twist, because he's like, why aren't you coming to see us? Why aren't you begging us for a deal? And of course, he's flown off to meet Vladimir Putin. And Putin will be putting a calming hand on his shoulder and go, look, we've all seen this before. We'll support you with all the weapons that you need and everything else. So nothing will change. The Chinese will help because they've got a lot of money invested in there. Don't escalate. Don't strike back at American bases. Don't strike back at Akrotiri Air Base. Don't go and bomb anywhere in the UK. And of course, we might well see a false flag to try and inflame this even more, because Netanyahu needs boots on the ground. But if you're Iran and you're smart, which they are, they look at Israel and they go, we have got 5 months worth of shells without even having another delivery. We know we can pierce their Iron Dome. Let's keep clobbering them. And then very simply, Netanyahu will be going begging to Trump, you've got to do more. You've got to do more to protect us and everything else. And of course, it is going to cost a huge amount of money. The Israeli GDP is not that great. So if you're talking about 165 billion, they're literally their chief exports. If you take the top 5 exports, they only literally are around about 40 to 50 billion a year for their exports that they do. And that's the top 5. I'm not talking about the ones underneath. But you're talking about 165 billion in the course of 5 months that it would need for, shall we say, the right sort of stuff to be able to bring it down. and they can't bring down these hypersonic missiles that are being provided by Russia, China, and North Korea as well, are spoiling for a fight, Sonia. I mean, Kim Jong-un is like the child who's got all the toys, but he doesn't have anyone to play with.
Oh, bless. Oh, bless. I mean, the thing is, obviously, as we know, this is about regime change. And I think the absolute arrogance of these Western leaders who think that they can decide who can be running which countries in the Middle East absolutely astonishes me. It astonished me when it happened before, and it astonishes me that it happens now. And I find it also astonishing that so-called intelligent people who I know don't seem to have a problem with it. Now, the thing is that I absolutely understand why some women and why gays and lesbians may have a problem with Islam, for one example,
Yes.
right? I get it. But I also don't understand why they don't also have a problem with genocide. Those two aren't mutually exclusive. You can have a problem with the issues of Islam and not be pro-genocide. And yet people want to pick a side, don't they, Warren? How disappointed are you with people? Because I'm bloody disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you say, for instance, the immigration problem here, where you take Sharia law and everything else that that comes into Great Britain or whatever, absolutely no. I'm 100% on the side of people who don't want that,
Right?
and don't want people attacked and everything else. But if they want to do their own religion in their own country and they're not invading anyone, which they're not, why the hell do we have to get involved? Now, here's the thing. Unless you're on board, as I spoke to Peter Ford, the former British ambassador, the other day, and he always turned around and said, when it comes to the diplomatic circles, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you want to get on with the Americans, you've got to get on board. And if you're not on message, then you've got a real problem.
I think we need to address the issue of blackmail, potential blackmail taking place here, because I think it would be remiss to have this conversation without mentioning it. And that was several weeks ago. A very, very close ally before of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, made very clear that there were issues to do with Epstein and Trump. And that's why we're not getting any information regarding Epstein. Of course, Epstein, we know, was involved with the Mossad, as indeed was Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell. We know all of those things. And I have to wonder, is there blackmail taking place here, do you think? Because something's not right. It can't just be money. It can't just be money. I think that for the most part, there are like three reasons why people would be backing Israel at this stage. And that is they're either biased because they're Zionists, or they are somehow being held to ransom, or they have financial incentives to do this. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it is one of the three honeypots, isn't it? Financial, social, or sexual. And very, very simply, Mossad have agents everywhere. And of course, you heard Ted Cruz the other day in the incredible interview he did with Tucker Carlson, where he said he didn't have a problem with Mossad spying on everyone. Of course you don't, Ted, because you get $1.8 million from the Israeli lobby. And this is the thing. And of course, we've spoken to Epstein survivor Jennifer Guskin, who named people, actually named senators that she saw at these parties. And of course, there is not, I would imagine there's very, very few people that haven't been compromised in one way or another. If you look at the House of Commons, you look at the Senate or whatever, just look, for instance, when the Democrats were in charge, you had two staffers having homosexual sex on one of the tables inside the state Senate House. And these were very high up staffers for members of Congress. So you can imagine what all sorts of other people are up to. You look at our own House of Parliament, overly represented in the LGBTQ community. Keir Starmer still hasn't answered any questions about how he knows 3 Ukrainian male models, shall we call them, but is the nice way to say it, and why they set fire to properties and a car that he previously owned. I mean, these people are compromised beyond belief.
Let me read you some of the comments. They're coming in thick and fast when you wouldn't expect anything different. Randy said, why do the West have such an urge to change other cultures? I mean, you've addressed that obviously to a degree, but please respond to that.
Yeah, leave them alone. See, I'm one of these people. There are over 580 million people in the world who exist on less than £2 a day. Okay, So if you take them as immigrants or refugees, whatever you want to call them, economic migrants, and you drop 1 million into each country in Europe, they are multiplying at 40 million a year. You're not going to make one drop in the ocean. Leave them in their country, raise their standard of living up to ours, and then you can dip in and out of each other's cultures as you so wish. When you drop a huge culture or lots of different cultures into a melting pot, you're going to get chaos. Let everybody live how they want to live,
Right.
raise them up to the same standard. But we don't want to do that, Sonia, do we? And Africa is an absolute. Look what they've tried to do to Ibrahim Traore. He wants to make Africa great again. The French have tried to kill him 5 times and the Americans once.
Jesus, dear God. Dr. Robert says regime change has been perpetrated by CIA in Iran for over 75 years. Thumbs up to that, I can see.
1953, they overthrew, and of course, America have overthrown or done regime change or attacked 80 different countries since 1946.
And Short Order Cook said, weapons, it's all about weapons. None of these people know how to negotiate without a bomb at their back. They could talk, but they don't. They won't. That's psychopathic. I mean, I think we have to allow for the fact that we are dealing with a bunch of psychopaths right at the top table now.
Yes, absolutely. And Sean is absolutely spot on there. What we have is the worst bunch of people we have ever had, shall we say, in charge of various countries. And that's not by accident. That's by design, because they'll go along with on message, and the message is whatever they're told. You look at how many of them come from the young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Look at Milei. He's at war with Iran because he was at the Wailing Wall. The Argentinian president headbutting the wall and crying his eyes out. I mean, Sonia, what was just said there by Sean is absolutely perfect. And you've only got to look at the gargantuan idiot that we have as our foreign minister. We had David Lammy and Kaya Kallis going to meet the Iranian foreign minister, carrying the same message as America, zero enrichment. And the Iranians just went, go away.
And at the same time, and I want to talk about this in more depth actually afterwards, but I do want a response from you. At the same time, obviously, we're having issues in this country. And if she hasn't already, she will be shortly. Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, will be standing in the Houses of Parliament, and she will be talking almost certainly about Palestine action and now treating it as a proscribed group. Are you aware of that's taking place?
Yes, absolutely. What they're going to try and do is anybody that is a dissenting voice, and this is why they brought in the new power, anybody that's a dissenting voice on any subject whatsoever will be outlawed. I mean, you can be arrested just for a mean tweet. But then again, but we've had 5,885 paedophiles that have been released literally on license or given a suspended sentence. Since he was shall we say, since Starmer got elected into office. So there is a 2-tier system here. If you are, shall we say, an ethnic minority and you do the same crime, you don't get as harsh a sentence as somebody from Great Britain. People can't see that this is a population replacement, and you are literally the minority that is being victimized. Sorry, I can't really help you.
Well, it is really tricky. And the thing is, and I talk as somebody who has done extensive work into immigration coming into this country and actually very pro multiculturalism. But I'm also absolutely aware that there's agenda taking place. And replacement theory is a very real thing. Actually, the Carnegie Plan is a very real thing, even though they want to write it off as a myth and a conspiracy theory. So we know that. But it goes back to what you're saying, Warren, and that is we are attacking these other countries and forcing a lot of other people to flee. A lot of the boats that are actually coming in are actually people fleeing. Where the biggest problems we have that people don't even realize is the actual legalized immigration that's taking place. That's where a lot of the issues are. Warren, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, very, very simply, what we've got, isn't it? They're a terrible, brutal regime. They are doing all sorts of terrible, terrible things to their people. Sharia law and everything is absolutely awful. We've got 85 Sharia law courts in the UK. Hello.
Right. And do you know, the thing is, I am starting to understand that whole idea of when in Rome. I used to be very much about, bring your whole self, do your own thing. Let's do that. But we have to obviously reach some sort of consensus, whatever country you're in. First of all, everybody needs borders, right? I get that, even though if it was down to me, there probably wouldn't be any. Although now I can see that there are issues that we don't all mix together nicely. That is the reality. And I think that what we are doing and what our politicians are doing is ignoring the genuine concerns of English and British people. And I think that will backfire on them.
Yeah, I think so very much. I mean, I don't have a problem with people who are refugees, economic migrants and people, fighting age males coming over where they've thrown all their documents in the drink or whatever. They've all got mobile phones and packets of cigarettes when they arrive on shore. But here's the thing that we get. When you talk about everything that is going on, this is happening all over Europe. And the places that are under attack that won't allow this, the places like Hungary and other countries, shall we say, that won't take this migration problem. And here's the thing, Russia have managed to do this, Sonia. They have Muslims, they have Jews, they have Christians, all living together, but they're Russia first.
LB says, when I go to Thailand, I want to experience Thai people and culture. End of. Yes, Shug said all crown infested lands are under siege, and not least of all by the bloody royal parasites. Warren, before you leave us today, tell us what you suspect may be coming up this week regarding Iran.
So basically what we're going to get is an escalation. Iran are just going to tell them to get lost. Israel are not going to be stopped from bombing Iran, although they might try to do that. I don't think they'll shut off the Straits of Hormuz, but Parliament have voted on it, and it just needs the Ayatollah Khomeini to give the go-ahead. What they'll actually do is say they're doing it, and of course, they'll let the Chinese ships through, but they won't let any others through. And of course, it won't be Iran that are really doing that, and America will go sailing in there with their big vessels, and then, of course, the Houthis will embarrass them with all their drones. So it will be one of those. But I would look for more of the same from Iran. I wouldn't see Iran. You'll see pictures coming out from America saying, "Oh, look, we've been an absolute success," and Iran will turn around and go, "No, we haven't published a proper photo." And we'll still have more Iran strikes. If they're smart, will go into Israel, and of course Benjamin Netanyahu will then start begging more and more, and the slaughter in Gaza will continue.
Horrendous. Warren, I want to thank you so much for showing up this morning and being as thorough as you have been. Absolute star that you are. Everybody says Warren Thornton, of course, geopolitical engineer. That's interesting. Geopolitical journalist, but also has his own weeknight show, right, on warrenthornton.com. 7 o'clock. Is that correct?
6 p.m. on a weekday and 7 p.m. on a Sunday.
Got it. Wonderful. Warren Thornton, everybody. You are an absolute star. Thanks, says the chat. Wonderful. Absolutely. Take good care of yourself. Warren Thornton. Lovely.
Take care.
He's Warren is brilliant because what he does is he pieces it all together. A lot of the time, the issues that we have is somebody has a piece here and somebody has a piece there, whereas he understands the big picture, which is always very welcome. Right. Talking about ghoul, I want to bring in this woman. Well, not look at that. That's not a coincidence. This one, Kim Leadbeater, who is obviously pushing the so-called assisted dying bill. And on Friday, it passed through the parliamentary stages, which means that MPs have now voted it to go through to the next stage, which is to go on to the Lords, so it can be scrutinised and dissected and can even be stopped and blocked at the Lords. If it doesn't get stopped there, it will then go on to royal assent, and I can assure you it will not be stopped. Charlie will absolutely give it royal assent. They don't ever stop it. I remember when Queenie was giving royal assent to some of the most vicious attacking measures to take place for sick and disabled people, and they don't care. They do not care at all. And anyway, so here she is after the vote has gone through. She's an absolute death cultist, this one. And what happened was, as we know, the MPs voted to make murder essentially legal. That's what they've done. So it went through on Friday, by a very slim majority of just 23 MPs who voted to allow medical professionals to assist people to die under a system expected to start operating by the end of the decade rather. So 2030, there's that year again. Yes. So as I say, it's gone through the Commons now it'll go on to the Lords, and then it will go on to Royal Assent. And what we've seen, of course, is the huge campaign groups like Dignity in Dying, very well funded and well organised. Then we heard from Dame Esther Rantzen, horrible individual. And I hate to say that about somebody who's dying, but the thing is that, as I said the other day, if there's any example at all of why we shouldn't actually be having the assisted dying made into law, it's Esther Rantzen, because she's been rabbiting on about this now for the last year, right? And she's still with us. And but anyway, so she's like really upset, and she's now appealing to the Lords not to block it. That's what she's saying. Okay. But here's where I think it gets interesting, because Health Secretary Wes Streeting has just come out and said, he ended up voting against it, interestingly, but he's just come out and said, if it goes through, we won't have any money for the NHS. So let me get this right. What we will be doing, if they make assisted dying lawful, we will be using the money that we normally use to keep people alive. We will be using that money to enable people to die. If that's not dark, I don't know what is. We really are living in a death cult. And that's literally what the Health Secretary is saying to us. He's saying there's not enough money for both things. There's not enough money to fund the NHS, and there's not enough money to fund assisted dying. So if assisted dying goes through, money will be taken from actually helping people to live. How disgusting is that? It's super dark, Craig. It beggars belief, Jean. It's so dark. It's shocking to me. So we shall see. And Gordon Brown has also talked about it. And actually, Streeting was quoting Gordon Brown, former Prime Minister. And one of the things that Gordon Brown said, and I agree with him, is we actually need better palliative care. That's literally what we need. We need better palliative care. So we need better end-of-life care, rather than say, okay, this person is dying, according to us, let's finish them off early. What we need is for us to give people a decent death, a proper decent death. I mean, this is literally, I'm a taxpayer. I am not paying to kill people off. I'm paying to help people. It's awful. It's appalling, Charlotte. It's absolutely appalling. But that's the warning. And it's a serious warning. And I want to also refer to this woman. Absolute globalist shill, of course. She is the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper. She's due to make a statement, and it is likely that it is, if not the actual banning, then it is the first step in proscribing the Palestine Action Group, which would effectively deem the activist group a terrorist organisation. And this follows them breaking into RAF Bryce Norton in Oxfordshire, spraying 2 planes with red paint, and an incident branded disgraceful by Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. Just to be clear, I am not supporting vandalism in any way, shape or form, but absolutely no vandalism is as bad as dropping bombs on hospitals, schools and children. And yet we seem to think it is. And so what's going to happen? We saw footage from Palestine Action on Friday. It showed 2 people inside the Oxfordshire Air Base. There was darkness. One was riding a scooter and spray painting in a jet engine. And they were doing this because these jet engines have been helping Israel and are absolutely part of genocide. No question about it, really. On Friday, a spokesperson for Palestine Action said, when our government fails to uphold their moral and legal obligations, it is the responsibility of ordinary citizens to take direct action. And I'm not up for criminalising activists. I am not at all, because today it will be them and tomorrow it will be you. And if you're out there cheering, then shame on you, because I can only imagine that you must actually be working for the other side. As I say, I do not support vandalism. I do not, but I still don't believe that it is enough to treat that as a banned terrorist group. That's fairly outrageous. And I understand many say that the group crossed the line by targeting a military site. But the reality is that it is a site where it has enabled the escalation of genocide. That's what's happening. Even Amnesty International have actually spoken out against it, said they are deeply concerned at the use of counter-terrorism powers to target protests. Terrorism powers should never have been used to aggravate criminal charges against Palestine action activists, and they certainly shouldn't be used to ban them. But that's not going to stop them, because there's this statement from just horrible man, Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, the most senior cop in England and Wales, Sir Mark Rowley. He's issued the following statement ahead of a planned protest today in support of Palestine action, which is due to take place in Westminster. And he said, I'm sure many people will be as shocked and frustrated as I am to see a protest taking place in support of Palestine action. No, when you say many people, you mean the Zionist lobby. That's who you mean, isn't it, Sir Mark? And so he said, the right to protest is essential and we will always defend it. But you haven't, though. You've criminalized people for protesting. And so what you did to British people out on the streets last year, where you, Sir Mark Rowley, even went so far as to say that people who say we are living in a two-tier society may be criminalized. They just want us to shut up. And the reality is, very sadly, Yvette Cooper is going to stand up and say all of these things. And I mean, it will involve a vote. Then they're going to need to vote on it, but they will. I'm pretty certain that they will proscribe Palestine action. That's what happened. And partly because the fact is, a question that many of us need to ask now, and that is your MP occupied by Israel? Because too many of them are. If a politician repeats the mantra, Israel has a right to defend itself, then chances are that politician, as we said, is either biased, bought, or being held to ransom in some way. We are not seeing rational actions and pronouncements. US and UK politicians are compromised. Our nation is occupied. A foreign government is in control. And what's more, calling that out is increasingly being criminalized. But it cannot be illegal to criticize the Israeli government and the power they wield around the world. It took me years to understand the power of Israel on politicians around the world, and none more so than in the US and UK. In 2025, many of our politicians now represent a foreign power over and above their own. Benjamin Netanyahu says jump, and they say when and how would you like me to jump, master? That's a fact. And the world we live in right now means that a tweet that can literally see you criminalized and imprisoned. And I'm reaching the stage now where I don't care. There's ethnic cleansing taking place. There's genocide taking place. There's unnecessary war taking place at the behest of Israel. Trump's administration is almost entirely occupied, as are British parties, including Labour, Conservatives, and Reform. Israel is all powerful. It's all powerful. It's stunning when you realize what power it wields over the people who are supposed to be serving you. Whenever I mention Israel, I have some people jumping up and down. Oh, you can't say that. You can't say that. I've had threatening letters, emails sent to me. I'm going to report you to the police. For what? For what? For saying that the Israeli government is run by a genocidal maniac, and anybody who supports him are also genocidal maniacs. And the thing is, they want to criminalize this. They're starting with Palestine action, not because of that event. No. They've been after them forever because they're a powerful voice of opposition. And that is the reality. That is the reality. And I see that Kemi Badenoch, who is absolutely an occupied MP, she's desperate for the BBC not to show kneecap at Glastonbury this week. That ain't going to happen. And she tweeted, one kneecap band member is currently on bail, charged under the Terrorism Act. You're a lawmaker, Kemi Badenoch. You're a lawmaker. You should know the difference between being charged and being convicted. This woman is absolutely occupied by the Israeli government. And she has said in a piece for the Conservative Friends of Israel that supporting Israel is not just right, it is necessary for our own national security. Israelis are at the front line in the fight for the West and for our shared values. Listen, Kemi, I only have one thing to say to you. F off, and when you get there, please F off again, you absolute filthy, disgusting sellout. We knew you were at that secret meeting at the Science Museum the other week. We know who you are. We absolutely know who you are. What is this? There's a crazy guy in the comments who keeps going on about me supporting Tommy Robinson. When did this happen? Would somebody like to tell me when this happened? Because I don't know, but some people are a bit deranged. Anyway, so that's where we are. And we are absolutely in an occupied country. Be under no illusion whatsoever. Thank you. Right. I want to bring in wonderful Matt Landman, who I saw on Saturday and who is an absolute star. Let's do it. Matt Landman, you are brilliant. And I have nothing but respect for you. Thank you for being here today, Matt.
Hi, Sonia. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for being there and speaking and doing the live stream. It was so great to meet you in person.
We had such a blast, and I'm so proud of all of us who turned out. And I thought it was a really decent showing, actually. So Marble Arch, middle of central London, on the hottest day of the year, we were all roasting, and the speakers were brilliant, music was brilliant, the crowd was brilliant, and the atmosphere was just absolutely amazing. Let me bring in some images. I've got a fantastic image of you, which has been sent in by viewers have been sending me in images, Matt. Let me show you this.
Lovely.
Let's just bear with me just a second. Where is he? Where's lovely Matt? Because I really want to show this great picture, which I think captures it so brilliantly. Sorry, Matt. It's I'm working on the hoof today. Let's have a look. Desktop here somewhere. Right, here he is. And this was taken by Spencer Pete. And shout out to Spencer Pete, by the way. There you are. There's Francis O'Neill. There you are. Love that shot. I've got loads of great shots. Shout out to Spencer Matt, because it was Spencer who was probably the first person to send me geoengineering images when I started Wake Up. And that then led to me then regularly showing geoengineering images from all around the world, which I think is so important. And Spencer took that image view, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. Tell us your thoughts about Saturday.
Well, first of all, the people of England and London are just, they're lovely. They're so kind, and I'm just not used to it where I live on the West Coast of the United States. Like you said in the show while I was listening, you know, our countries are being hijacked, especially from the politicians, but it's trickling down into society as well. But the people were lovely. It was so amazing to be around so many truth-seeking, like-minded, amazing, beautiful human beings. The turnout was fantastic. Everything went, I mean, of course, going into something like this, I'm like, you know, what's going to happen? How's it going to go? It went great. I couldn't have asked for more. Also, at the same time, we had rallies in solidarity, which is what I wanted. I want to make this a worldwide event. I want to have protests around the world at the same time. And we did. We had North Wales. We had a couple in the States. We had Sydney, Australia. We had Dublin, Ireland. And I even met some Irish beautiful family at the rally, and they didn't know about the Dublin thing until too late, but they were at this one because they had heard about it. But they're going to go next year on solstice and really rally in Dublin. So I think that this is going to become a movement. The speakers were great. The musicians were great. Everything was beautiful. Of course, there was a little bit of kinks here and there, and some people tried to get on stage who I know that aren't trustworthy and whatnot, but it was wonderful. It was really, really great. And seeing you and meeting you and going to the pub afterwards and all the great feedback and all the images, everything was just, it was beautiful. It was in divine order, and I'm just happy to have played my part in getting it to happen.
And hallelujah to that. It was absolutely in divine order. I literally don't think it could have gone better, because as this is the first one of its kind, right? I'm not even used to live streaming from events like that. Okay. And so everything literally went as best as it humanly could. And I'm really proud of everybody for being there. I thought the atmosphere was incredible, Matt, absolutely incredible. And, you know, and I'm really glad that you had the foresight to do this, and on summer solstice, again, very magical as well. And the timing again is interesting, of course, because you're off to Parliament today, and you're off to Parliament today because they are doing this geoengineering debate on the petition. I think that's at 4:30, right? So tell us what you're doing down at Parliament. When are you going?
Well, they're going to be discussing this geoengineering as if it's a brand new thing, which it's obviously not. And the MPs will likely just be lying through their teeth about it, and saying it's not happening and maybe one day this and that. But yeah, they're going to be, at least it's a topic of conversation, I guess. But there was a petition that went out and it got 180,000 roughly signatures. And that made it so that Parliament would have to address it in Westminster. So it's something. I don't believe in politics. I think that we in the States, I live 5,000, 6,000 miles from here, and I'm under the exact same boot as everyone is here. You were talking about Israel and all that stuff, and the Trump administration. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that everybody's in bed with each other, and the people are the ones that need to wake up, and we are. But still, there's so many people that think that politics, work, and they don't. It's up to us to take a stand, to wake up our brothers and sisters, and to raise the consciousness together. And so that's what we're doing with rallies like this and future rallies. And the most important thing that I have to say is we're going to make this an annual event. I know a lot of people want it to be every weekend, but at least every solstice, around solstice, next year it'll be on a Sunday. We'll keep the rally on a Saturday. But each year around this time, we're going to gather the world and have these rallies. March Against Monsanto started in 2013, and they started their rallies with 400 cities around the world. And by doing so, by having simultaneous rallies, they were able to keep it going. Yes, Darren Nisbet of the Light newspaper, so glad that he could come out and perform as well. Shout out to him and everything.
He had us all singing, didn't he? He had us all singing. Wonderful.
It was just wonderful, And for us to be able to come together and to show the world that we're waking up. It's not just a handful of people. I don't know the exact count, but there was over 1,000 people there, right? Easily. And so we're not just this fringe little narrow-minded niche. We're waking up. The people are there, and there were children. There were so many beautiful children and people of all ethnicities and all sorts of people, and everybody was shaking my hand and giving me hugs, and I even got a friendly headbutt from a nice chat. It was just
just so you know, that isn't part of our culture. You do understand that's not English culture, right? To headbutt somebody. No, the thing is, you did such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I hope you didn't take offense to my comment that it took an American to bring us all together, right? Because my point about saying that was that it needed to be somebody. And I'm so glad it was you, because your intention is so good. And obviously you made Frankenskies, and you have a name that people can follow. And all of that is really wonderful. And by the way, just as an aside, I'm really delighted personally that the debate today is being run by Dr. Ros Savage. She's actually from my hometown, which makes me happy, because that means that my hometown, at least the MP there is awake to what's happening. And I don't get to say that very often. But I think you did absolutely phenomenal, Matt. Truly, I did. And I'm so proud to have been involved in the first one. And the children there was absolutely wonderful. And I didn't talk to any child without asking their parents' permission first. But all the children were like up for it. They wanted to talk about it and carry in their banners. One child had a real understanding about climate change and fake stats and everything. It kind of blew my mind that an 8-year-old was able to have this incredible conversation with me. Some 50-year-olds haven't yet caught up with what is happening in our skies. But you did amazing, Matt. You must be shattered, though.
I'm just happy and blessed that it's in the past.
They went ahead successfully, right?
Yes, exactly. It happened. And I mean, even in the blaring sun, they geoengineered some clouds for us. I don't know what that was all about, but they came out. Maybe they were trying to make it rain, and God stepped in and said, "No, thank you." And the police came lining up, and they didn't do anything. It was lovely. I was shocked. I thought they would come into the crowd and at least intimidate us. Everything went so beautifully, smoothly. And everyone I talked to, they said, "See you next year. See you next year. Next year will be much larger and even more successful." And we're lighting the match. We are the spark for this awakening, and people are feeling really hopeful and inspired and encouraged. And it's now up to us. The spark has been lit, and I think it's I think it's just a wonderful, beautiful thing. And I said during the rally, you know, I could have been there almost alone. I could have been there with a dozen people, but that's not what happened. We were packed. We filled that plaza, and it's exactly what I wanted. And I feel like it's in absolute divine order. And people are going to wake up, and people are waking up, and the awakening is upon us, you know. So here we are, and God bless everybody for attending, and those that didn't come, they're now hearing about it, and we'll be doing this more and again, and we're going to wake up, and we're going to end up stopping this. It will take some time and some activism, but that's what activism is. You have to get your feet wet, you got to get your feet dirty, you got to get involved, you have to get inspired and encouraged, and we're going to pave the way for the next generation, because we can't pass down to them this. We just can't.
Right, exactly. Amazing, Matt. Lovely, lovely comments here. And Matt, I just want to extend my thanks to you for getting this up and running. Okay. And brilliant speakers there, and the brilliant songs there. Literally, I mean, when you start to hear people saying, you know, you can shove your up your from Darren. I'm not going to say it because we're on YouTube. You know exactly what I mean. But when you hear that, and we were in central London, as I said, we weren't in a field on the fringe. Central London, that took some guts. Thank you for having that foresight to do that. They can't ignore us. There is absolutely no way on earth that they were not aware that we were there on Saturday. Matt Landman, you are a star, and you are welcome on Wake Up whenever you want to. Just let me know. Matt Landman, take good care of yourself. Welcome to England. We love you. You're part of the family. You're absolutely part of the family. Yes, you are. Thank you. Take good care of yourself. Isn't he amazing? What a brilliant guy. Literally, what a brilliant guy. And sorry, I am aware now that I say literally too much. I'm going to try and stop that. Sometimes I do that, right? Sometimes I latch onto a word. Somebody in the comments had said to me, stop saying literally, but it's true. I do say it rather a lot. So I'm going to try. I'm literally going to try and stop saying that so much. So that today in Westminster Hall, this Geo debate, by the way, they've got up to 3 hours. I've got Darren back on the stage there. What's going on? Up to 3 hours. Starts at 4:30 p.m. The idea is that this House has considered e-petition relating to geoengineering and the environment. As I said, Dr. Ros Savage is leading it on behalf of the Petitions Committee. Now, you and I both know, and the thing is, in a way, I'm angry about it. And I'm angry about it for exactly what Matt just said. And that is, we are, you know, it's like we're pretending what has taken place hasn't taken place. They're starting from the basis of, should we be dimming the sun? Whereas we already know they're doing it. They are absolutely doing it without question. But at least they are talking about it. At least they are. And also, as well as debating geoengineering in Parliament today, they will also be discussing Pride Month. I can't actually find details of what they are going to be discussing regarding Pride Month. Is it to abandon it? Is it to increase it? Is it to spend more money on it? Acknowledge how many child abusers and predators are involved and are attracted to it? I don't know, but I'm interested in finding out more. Yes, I am. And I want to talk rather a lot today about geoengineering. I think that's important. I think it's important to show chemtrail pictures sent in by viewers from all over, because we are documenting their criminality. And let's bring in some pictures. Let's see what I've got here. Now, let me start off with Anthony. And because of the sheer volume of chem pictures I've received from you lovely peeps over the weekend, I can't show everybody's, unfortunately, but I will show some that I've been able to prepare. So let me just find this. This is from Anthony, and this is interesting because, so what Anthony is showing us here is, I took this photo yesterday of the sun. This was on Thursday. At the time, I just wanted to take photos of the white sky due to all the chemicals, and I accidentally took a photo of the sun. And so there's a halo effect, right? And Anthony describes it as an optical phenomenon produced by light interacting with ice crystals suspended in the atmosphere. He's going to be taking more pictures. But what I think is interesting about this series of pictures is, if you start at the top, it's the way that the sun is the process is that the sun is being blocked. I mean, we can see it right in front of our eyes. There's no getting away from that. That is absolutely clear and apparent. That is a dimming, a blocking of the sun. It's directly in front of it. And another really interesting one sent to me by Matt Phillips. Matt, if I can just find your image as well. And again, I show this not to tick people off, but I think it is important that we log their criminality. These are criminal actions that are taking place against us. And Matt took this in Mortlake, southwest London. Look at that. And again, I think that was on Thursday, approximately 2 p.m. Astonishing amount of trails around the sun. So again, absolutely targeting of it. But I think that's a really powerful image as well. Very powerful. And you know, I know some people, one or two have written in and said, I don't want you to show those pictures. It makes me upset. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that it makes you upset, but I'm not going to stop showing them. We have to keep a record of the criminal harm that is being conducted against us. And I don't see this happening anywhere else. And the reason that I started doing this in the first place, and I think it was Spencer who sent me the first image, and the reason I started doing it in the first place is it struck me, is we have no actual media record really of on a sort of weekly basis of what they are doing in our skies. And that is exactly what I aim to cover here by showing you. It is not to tick you off. I promise you, it is not to tick you off. No, it isn't. How are you in the comments? And does that person not look up either, Sonia? What's that? What's that about? I don't know what that's about. Not many insects nowadays, says Stephen. Well, you haven't seen my garden, right? You have not seen my garden. There's going to be a massive... Right, Sam, let me see what Sam has to say here. And the reason they are spraying is because channelers tell us there is going to be a massive solar flare that changes life on Earth. It's not about global warming. That is a cover story, says Sam. People do ask me not to show. Not many, like one or two. And Marcus says, seriously, grow up. This channel is for truth to be spoken and concerns to be raised that affect us all. And thank you for not ignoring it. I absolutely will not ignore it. No, I will not. We must highlight it, D Hall. We absolutely must. It rained yesterday. Now my car is filthy. Now, if I've got an image that I want to show you, this is going to blow your mind, right? This was, let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I can. Bambo sent me this in, and good morning. Thought you'd like to see this. The aftermath of the showers we had yesterday in Nottinghamshire. Look at this on these coins that Bambo, look, illustrate. Let me find it. Monday Pics. Just looking for it, because I think that's what you're talking about in the comments, to do with the incredible dust and dirt that we saw. If I can't find them now, if I can, look at this. So this incredible dust and dirt, right? So Julio talked about it, but on this, so there it is. And what Bambo was saying was absolutely the rain, the aftermath of the rain, absolutely filthed up his car. And he used these kind of coins or whatever they are to illustrate. And I don't know if you can actually see, but they are covered. They're covered. Yes, anybody else experienced that? The rain. Linda said, I'm convinced this increases my dreadful hay fever. Yes, I wouldn't doubt it at all. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And Marco's car was covered in dirt. So yeah, Bambo, I think that we can safely say you are not alone. Are they magnets, says Greg? I'm not sure. But Intuition also noticed that their windows are mucky after the rain. Craig said it's not purple rain, but dirty rain. He's using a magnet. Right, that's a magnet. Got you. Thank you so much for pointing that out for me. I appreciate that. The grime that is coming off my cat when I brush him, it's like magnetic. This is interesting. See, I think all of these observations, they might sound at this moment in time as if they're in isolation, but one day it'll all make absolute perfect sense. Yes. And my window is manky as well, says Kath. My eyes are a mess when they have been spraying. I understand that. My raspberries are not the same as usual this year, says DK. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. Very sorry to hear that as well. I want to very briefly touch upon Alex Belfield. Let me find an image of Alex Belfield. And just to be very clear here, I have no skin in the game. I have no animosity with Alex Belfield. I've never worked with him. And I don't really know him other than the fact that he was imprisoned. And let me just find an image if you're not familiar with him. But the one thing that I think is really important is to be very clear about why he was in prison. So he's now out of prison and he was released, I think, last Thursday. And what he is claiming is he's comparing himself to Lucy Connolly. Well, some people think Lucy Connolly is a psyop straight off the bat anyway, but he's comparing himself to Lucy Connolly. And Lucy Connolly, of course, is the mother who was in prison for her tweets. And he's talking about how we are weaponizing free speech. And all of this is spot on right, but he was not imprisoned for free speech. That isn't accurate. He was convicted of stalking 4 men, and there are, I think, at least 8 restraining orders against him involving 8 people. He was an obsessive and very dangerous stalker who I would not want to have been on the receiving end of. He sent thousands of emails and threats, and the way he used YouTube was actually secondary to what he was doing behind the scenes. And I think we're in danger when we misunderstand what has taken place, because if we automatically take it that he was in prison for free speech, that will then create a climate on social media and in making videos where people will automatically seek to self-censor themselves. And I don't think we should do that. We must be absolutely aware why he was imprisoned. And some of the things that he did were really egregious. He stalked one man for 9 years, a former friend of his, and who he'd worked with at BBC Nottingham. I don't know these people. As I say, I have no skin in the game. I'm just simply telling you the facts of the case because the facts are important. And that is the reality. He contacted these people. He threatened them. He threatened repeatedly to sue them. And it went on. And he made videos about them. And he encouraged his followers to also stalk them. And a lot of people like to use Jeremy Vine as the reason that Alex Belfield is inside. That is simply not the case. Jeremy Vine was at the absolute bottom of what was considered the problem with Alex Belfield. Actually, the people who Alex Belfield was primarily in prison for was a man called Bernard Spedding, another man called Hewis, can't remember his first name, but he's a theatre critic. And Alex Belfield just took slights from these people and then targeted them very substantially. And nearly a decade with one man is not about free speech. No, it isn't. So, you know, I'm absolutely aware that there are some people who watch my channel and will watch his and will take it that he was imprisoned for censorship. That is not true. And I will not allow people to be misled from my platform because I think that's wrong. And the thing, you are absolutely entitled to hold and express your views. And one of the sentencing remarks from the judge was, I'm not imposing sentences on you because you made comments about the BBC or about matters of public interest. Your sentences reflect your repeated and personal harassment of the victims and not your views on any issue of public interest. Now, just to be clear, I actually thought his imprisonment term was excessive. So I want to be clear about that. I thought that was excessive. And I thought there may be an aspect of stick it to him there. But he wasn't in prison to do with free speech. And as I say, Jeremy Vine was absolutely at the bottom of the pile and was found that the charge against Alex Belfield to do with Jeremy Vine was a much lesser charge than all the other men. That is the reality. So there you go. I just want to say that because I hate seeing people misled. I don't like seeing people misled. And I also worry very much. We already live in a climate where people are scared to speak truth to power. We don't need people coming out of prison and saying, I was in prison for speaking truth to power. You weren't. You were in prison for stalking. And we must be very clear about that. Right. And I get it. Look, I understand people, right? I understand that some people find him amusing. He's not my kind. I find him a bit like a kind of sort of Bernard Manning type character, that kind of comedian. But as I said at the start, I have no skin in the game. I've not fallen out with him. I don't know him. I just wanted to correct what people are saying, because obviously the truth counts. The truth matters. And I don't want people self-censoring themselves because they think that they're going to befall the same fate that befell Alex Belfield. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Okay, where are we? No, Hippie Witch, I'm not wrong about him. I've been through the entire judgment. I'm not going on media hype. That's silly. I've looked through the judgment. More's the point. Have you read the judgment, or are you going on what he says and media hype? Because the judgment is all that counts. And the judgment is about stalking. It's not about freedom of speech. And anybody who promotes that it's about freedom of speech and censorship is misleading you. And you must ask why. So there you go. That's just my feeling on it. But you are, of course, entitled to your own opinion. That's the great thing about Wake Up, right? Is we are entitled to our own opinions around here. And I think that's important. Right. It's I'm going to be ending soon. Because I've had an exhausting weekend. And as you can hear, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just want to give a shout out to this lovely lady. If I can find this image of her. Monday, where is she? There she is. This is lovely Charlotte. Charlotte used to be my producer on TNT, and she was at the event on Saturday, and she was helping me doing some filming as well, grabbing my gimbal and filming people. And I adore her. She's absolutely brilliant lady. She really is. So there you go. And I was in and nodding off by 7:30. Mel's knackered, right? Right. Okay, let's see. And the evidence that I've done that as well. No one's flower. I've read both the judgment and his evidence, and I've looked at it in the round. That's what I've done. And that, here's the thing. Many of us spoke out against the jabs. Many of us did. And I'm not saying there wasn't something else going on, because the prison term was clearly long. But then look at the prison term they gave to Lucy Connolly for one tweet that she deleted within a matter of hours. So there's possibly an agenda taking place there. And I don't deny that. I don't deny that they do want to create censorship online. All I'm saying is the reason that I've pointed all that out is because I don't want you to self-censor yourself. Because having been a journalist working in legacy media, I know how awful it is when we start self-censoring. It's a hiding to nothing. And that's the only reason I'm just warning against that. Right. I want to end on an appreciation of our natural world. And the reason I do is because, honestly, we're so focused, aren't we, as a world, on the bad stuff. And there's been a lot of horrible, negative stuff that we've had to cover on the show today. You know, genocidal attacks, the potential start of World War III, the poisoning of our skies, the DNA from babies, the pushing through of the assisted dying onto the Lords. These are horrible, dark and disgusting things. And so we need some lightness and we need some brightness. And I get my energy from nature. I love nature. I mean, in all of its splendor. And we are very fortunate to live close to a wonderful park. And I often film there. And this is me filming this was yesterday morning. And I wanted to share it with you. And I want to share it with you. There you go. They're just so peaceful, aren't they? I just absolutely love that. And it's glorious to me to be able to be surrounded by that type of environment. But I also want to show you some images taken by lovely Jean. Jean, are you in the comments? Jean is someone who is as big an animal lover and a nature lover as I am. And she took some absolutely wonderful pictures of butterflies. And we talk a lot, don't we, about butterflies and how we're not seeing very many. Well, check these out, peeps. This is just lovely. Let me find it, because my spirits lifted when I saw this imagery. How glorious is that? Jean said, I hope you're well. She enjoyed the live stream. And she said that she hopes that it draws more attention to the cause. She said so much shite is going on at the moment. I wouldn't know where to begin. Well, so say both of us. But happy days, things are beginning to unravel and be exposed gradually, indeed. And Jean said, I'd just like to share with you and hopefully your audience some gorgeous butterfly pics I took on my wee jaunt. I really wish everyone could take the time to enjoy the beautiful colours of nature around us. And I agree with you. And what we have here is the common blue butterfly, the brown ringlet butterfly, the small heath butterfly, and the straw dot moth. I adore those images. You're a fabulous photographer, Jean. It's absolutely wonderful. And when I saw that imagery, and I'd already captured the imagery of the deer as well, and I just thought, we don't take enough time to stop, do we? Many of us are on the go 24/7, and we don't always take time to stop and appreciate what we've been blessed with in our natural world. So that's the note I want to end on today. Please do take time to stop and smell the roses, as the saying goes. Your soul will thank you. It really will. I am in no doubt whatsoever that when we take time to do that, we are imbued with something that we can't get any other way. And the butterfly is a perfect example, isn't it, of transformation. And I think that we can learn so much from nature. One of the things that I learned from nature is not just about an actual process, but patience. I can learn patience from nature, because the process that a butterfly has to go through, for example, there's a lot of patience involved there. It starts off as something unrecognizable and ends up completely transformed. And it also shows us about great renewal, which is available to us in nature, which I absolutely love. So Jean, thank you as ever for sending in those pictures. I really do appreciate it, because I really do think that we don't take enough time to appreciate what we have. And I think that it's important that we do. Vanessa said, I love nature. It's a gift. It's also free. Marcuson points out, isn't that the beauty of it? Nature is better than some of the light shows, than probably any light show you will ever see in your entire life, than any pyrotechnics display, than any firework display. And it is free. And but nature is under attack, as Ian points out. Yes, metamorphosis, Solomon, exactly that. And it's a wonderful process. And Intuition says, focus on the good things. And I think that's so important, because we are under attack, aren't we? We're under not just physical and psychological attack, but we are under spiritual attack. And so when I see nature like this at its finest, I mean, you cannot plan something like this. You're welcome, Colin. You cannot plan something like this. The way that these butterflies are, it's a miracle in its own right. And I'm so grateful to be here for it. And caterpillars, yes, dear caterpillars, look what they are prepared to give up in order to be able to become this. Our creator is the wonderful artist. And this is the other thing, is the fact that we're even showing this imagery. I love the fact that it evokes all of these thoughts in our live chat, and they're kind of pure thoughts. When we strip things back, we're really simple. We really are. We want very simple things, and that is we want food, we want water, we want shelter, we want love. And I think to be surrounded by nature is the greatest thing, and I'm really grateful for it. So please feel free to send me in your pictures and your videos on nature. Sometimes if I get videos, I can't always play them, but I will let you know. Yes, I'm well, Abster. I'm great, thank you. There are no straight lines in nature, says Randy, and so much the better for it. So I just want to thank you all for being here today. And it is absolutely, it is. I want my country. Okay, Mikey. So yeah, but Mikey, the thing is that we can't always be dragged back to something, right? We're talking about something else now, and I think that's really important, to appreciate the moment rather than keep going back to what we've already discussed in the show, because we've just passed through that. And it's really important that we also focus on the positive, because the positive is life-giving. The sun is life-giving, which is why we are fighting for them not to continue dimming it in any way. And so I think it's really important to end on these positive notes, because I don't want to leave you where we're all down in the dumps. I want to leave you feeling uplifted. That is exactly the point of ending the show the way I do. And it's simple as that. It's really as simple as that. So there you go. And I want to end on a quote, because that's what I do, yo. Yes, it is. And that is, nature is not a place to visit. It is our home. I will see you on Friday, not on Wednesday. Don't forget, we've changed the shows this week. We're going to be doing Monday and Friday. I may pop up in the meantime. Who knows? I want it to be more flexible rather than rigid. I want that middle period of the week to be flexible, that if something really turns up that I feel that we should be talking about, you will just get a notification and then we will be away. And that may happen this week. It may happen next week. It may happen any week. But at this moment in time, we are back to Monday and Friday. I will see you on Friday. Thank you for being here. Of course, have a wonderful Monday. Appreciate your surroundings. It's been given to us. We've been blessed and given our surroundings by a much higher force than ourselves. That's what I believe anyway. Take good care of yourself. I will see you Friday. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. Thank you so much. Lots of love to you all. See you Friday.